You win some, you lose some, and occasionally you have just enough to eke by with the getting through mentality, and that is what the case was on this session. I was still super nervous going into this entire week. My recovery is just still not quite caught up after this weekend with the long car ride and everything, and I wasn't sure if the work that I put in on Sunday was going to prevent me from being able to recover, but I think I regulated it just enough to get through this session, and I'm very thankful to have made those decisions now, because I can't imagine cutting it any closer on the squats as they follow and still being able to get through. So what you're going to be watching is what I have lovingly dubbed via the Garrett Blevins verbiage, Hell Week. This is when I will be taking 90% of my my planned attempts, and I will be hitting 4 triples at each of those. And so I had 585 for the squats, and I had 4 triples here. This is definitely a volume PR for me, the most that I have ever worked with this weight without knee wraps. And yeah, so 12 working reps. It was a challenge, and I will say that I worked up relatively quickly to that first set. Kind of got right down to business, and I've been so used to work up sets being rep work on the way up. Even on, you know, with every other training week that I've done, I haven't worked up with singles, so it went way faster than I was really accustomed to. And I actually had to slow myself down a little bit when I got to these top sets and said, okay, well, take enough time in between. And overall, I'm all right with how they went. I think they went about as well as I could have expected considering the circumstances, and I'm relatively overreached already, and the purpose of this entire week is to push that even farther so that I can taper off next week and then deload and have a real super compensation come meet week. This third set is the one that frustrated me a bit. I was having a lot of issues just getting my stance and everything, and while the first 2 reps went all right, the first one felt fine. The second one, I feel like I misgrooved forward just a small amount, and what that did was made me really hesitant to take the 3rd rep at all. And when I started on the descent, I felt the bar start to roll up on me, so I cut it short immediately so that I wouldn't dump it, and I was pretty disappointed with myself. I think the front view is less flattering than the side view, actually, in that circumstance. It made it look like I cut it way higher than I did, but I was very displeased with that particular rep, and so kind of told myself, well, on this last set, I'm just going to go where I think I need to go, and was able to make it through kind of by the skin of my teeth. You're going to see the second rep is a little bit rough, and then the 3rd rep ends up being what is now becoming my most common misgroove, which is out of the hole, the bar will start to push forward like that, rounds me over, and I have to do a thoracic extension. And on that one, I almost passed out. Just a little bit too much excitement, not enough oxygen. So thankful to be done with those. Not the best reps that I've ever done in the world, but at the same time, I had a pretty high expectation for completion of this session, and I'm really just thankful to have gotten through it. And that's a good sign moving forward. It means that I'm right where I feel like I need to be. That's not supposed to be a super easy thing, or else I underestimated what my capabilities are, and I think I'm pretty much on track for where I need to be in 2.5 weeks. So I did 2 back off sets. Normally I would be doing 4 on my bench press. I did the planned amount, and on my deadlifts I'm planning on doing all 4 of the back off sets. But in this circumstance, since I only have the 1-day turnover before I have to get ready and deadlift again, I decided that I would cut it off at 2 back off triples at 80%. So I had the 4 triples at 90%. Dropped the weight by 10% down to 515 here, and did my 2 back off triples. Moved on to the bench press, and that was the same protocol. 4 triples at 90%, and actually I miscalculated my first set, and that was not as big a deal on the bench because my bench is relatively weak compared to my other lifts, so it wasn't a large amount of poundage that was thrown off, but this was actually ended up being the first 2 triples at 91%, and I was asking myself why it felt so heavy. Aside from this being pretty much repeating rep PRs every time that I completed a set at 355 here, I also said, oh, well, yeah, that's also not 90%, that's 91, so I will scale it back on the subsequent 2 sets. And same story as the squats. I was pretty tired going into the session. I'm pretty beat up. It's getting close to the meet. The body's starting to let me know that it's that it's ready to deload and test and then move on from here. And again, I was just thankful to have the ability today to be recovered enough to make it through this session. I asked quite a bit of my body, and luckily it came through, and I didn't do something silly like hurting myself. So that was the positive for this session. And here is the 4th set. Not really a whole lot to say. I'm still enjoying the wider grip. I'm still also having that shoulder lag on the right side. Some people ask me why that happened. In high school, I had a wrestling injury. I tore a rotator cuff and I never got it repaired. So I've worked around it for a few years and eventually got to the point where you only really see it with wider grip benching when I get fatigued enough that that right elbow tends to tuck a lot more, and the right shoulder really displays that weakness for everybody. So after the top 4 sets at 90%, I dropped down to 80%, around 315 for me, and instead of doing 4 sets of 3, I just did 3 sets of 4. The first 2, I did them regular, and then this last one I tried to put my feet up. The problem is the same problem I always have whenever I put my feet up on this bench. It's just such a short bench, I don't have room to keep my legs tight and have my feet still on the bench. So my butt ended up being a little bit up for those, but, you know, whatever. It is what it is. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm really excited moving forward. I'm excited, anxious, and nervous for the deadlifts. I have 90% for 4 triples. We will see how that goes on Thursday, and then some more benching, maybe bust out the slingshot, get some overload work in. It's all kind of fun from here. So thank you guys again, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great night.